Before we begin, the Differently Brained team acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we record, edit, and stream this podcast. We pay our respects to all First Nations peoples and their elders, past, present, and emerging. We extend that respect to all First Nations cultures and their ongoing connection to the lands, waterways, and communities. Now on with the show.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, differently brained is who we are. I'm Jacinta Dietrich.
And I'm Lachlan Rutherford. And this was unplanned, and so I don't know what to say.
This episode is about sleep. Have a good time. Sleepy, sleepy tea. Nailed it. Welcome to Differently Brained, guys.
Yes, welcome to Differently Brained, the podcast where we sing songs at you that were completely unplanned previously.
You started this with the Valentine's Day episode, and now I just feel like I need to continue it and up my game when I open the show.
Agreed. No, it has to be every episode. Well, every one of the Synth Shady and Ruther episodes, at least, has to start with a song. It is written.
It is written. It is known.
Yes, but as was already sung to you before, today's episode is about sleep. Gosh, don't we all love it? Don't we all need it? Don't we all crave it? I know I do frequently. Specifically, sleep as it pertains to mental health and neurodivergence, obviously.
To kick us off, how is your sleep, Lachlan? How do you sleep, and what is your sleep routine, you cheeky boy? Because I'll bet it's crazy.
It's not good. It's not good at all. My sleep is such a varied thing in such that I will either have a perfect night's sleep and have no problems the next day, or I will be up until like 5 or 6 in the morning unable to sleep, or I'll have a good night's sleep and then just get really, really tired at about 2 in the afternoon. So yeah, it's a bit of a messy thing. And it's not helped by the fact that I was going to say I probably don't have a very good sense of sleep hygiene, but the fact of the matter is it's not probably. I don't have very good sleep hygiene. I kind of use my brain a lot more than I should at nighttime. Yeah. What's your story, Jacinta? How's your sleep?
Look, I'd say it's also a bit of a mess. I don't do really... Well, it's about half of whether I have a routine or not. So I'll either do the complete routine and it'll all go the same, or nothing about the routine happens. Mm-hmm. So what I normally do, and I'm a real, this is going to sound super lame, but at about 9 o'clock or whatever I'm doing or watching finishes around that time, Lucas and I will look at each other and we'll say first or second. And that is one of us choosing if we're having first shower or second shower because we shower one after each other. I don't know why. That's just how it ended up happening. Most of the time I will have first shower because I feel rushed that I need to get into bed at a certain time. And if we say first or second and he doesn't automatically then immediately go and have a shower, I get cranky and stressed and I can't explain it. I don't know why. It just feels like it's on a time limit.
Okay.
So I'll go and have a shower. I'll do my skincare routine because I moisturize. I will brush my teeth as we have discussed in the shower and then hop in a bed and I've got to, I have a silly Apple Watch. So put that on the charger, put my glasses in their spot, put my new bands in because I have braces, then moisturize my face because you can't moisturize face and then put the bands in because then you end up with yucky moisturizer taste in your mouth. I've learned. So all of that has to go. Yeah, all of that has to go in that specific order. And this is the thing that's going to get me crucified. And then I pick up my phone and I don't even really play on it. So I don't play games on my phone at night. I'm pretty good until kind of recently where I got hooked on just silly phone games, and that has been terrible for my sleep. But what I normally do is I have the Libby app, which is connected to my local library, And I read the majority of my books probably at the moment through my local library on my phone, which I know is not great, but, you know, I have it on the black screen and I think it's okay. And the easiest way for me to go to sleep, because I take so much longer than everyone else. And if I just lay there trying to close my eyes like everyone else, I get bored, my brain spirals, and it doesn't work. And so I know that I need something that's going to kind of calm my brain or focus my brain. And I have had sleep studies, so I know I am actively diagnosed. I have the brainwaves to prove that I'm an overactive sleeper. So I think the whole time. And that really, really, really impacts how I get to sleep.
Yep.
And so essentially I need to read my book until I basically pass out.
It's still reading. Like that's far better than what I do, which is I get into bed, I open up my laptop, and I watch YouTube videos until I fall asleep. Like that's got to be worse than opening up your phone, putting on the night mode, and then reading.
Well, see, I don't know though, is it? Because like, you know, even though it's on the night mode, there's probably still blue light. It means that 90% of the time, and this is potentially why my eyesight's so bad, maybe I should mention it to my optometrist, but they're going to tell me to stop doing it, so then I don't like it. Sorry, Alex. I know you're probably listening to this. So then it's still the blue light. I generally don't turn my lamp on. So once Lucas's lamp goes off, the only light is my phone, and it's the black screen, and that's how I'm reading. So it's probably terrible for me, and it's probably still blue light. The only thing I think that's different between mine and yours is that yours would have the white and the color and the sound.
Yeah.
So like I don't think it's necessarily any worse than what I do. It's probably just different bad. Of late, my main issue has been that I got hooked on a really silly phone game that I enjoy, and then so while I've been busy during the day, I don't play it, and then I've been revenge procrastinating at night, which is essentially it has a term. Check it out.
Oh my God. Yeah, I love that.
Revenge procrastination is a very common thing for neurodivergent people and people generally who feel like they're not having enough time for themselves in the day. So maybe that's where the reading started, and then I realized that it also quiets my brain and things like that. But it's essentially that, you don't feel like you've had enough time for stuff that you enjoy doing or for relaxing during the day. So then you lay in bed and you then get that dopamine hit of whatever you wanted to do instead. And then, you're sacrificing sleep essentially. Whereas, if you balanced out your days and things like that. But again, totally get it. Absolute hypocrite here. Definitely do it. So, I've been relatively busy over the last few weeks, it's felt like. So then, I get in bed and I'm like, I haven't played my game today. I got to check on my things. And then I go in, and that's been really bad for my sleep. That is not like the book. So then, I end up spending probably an hour or two playing the game, and then another hour or two to slow my brain down to undo everything I've just done with the phone game, and then pass out. The only other thing that's impacting my sleep at the moment is that Lucas is snoring, and that is getting hella irritating. So
you just called your boyfriend out to the public about his snoring. How's he going to react?
It's going to be perfectly fine. And if he didn't want me to, he should have done something about it 6 months ago. Whatever, he'll be fine. But no, he's just been snoring, and we can't figure out what it is kind of thing. So he's going to have to go and do a sleep study, and we've been way too busy to organize that. So it's not necessarily his fault he's still snoring. But it does mean that because I know that I am particularly sound sensitive, that it really irritates me.
Yeah.
So, and I understand that it's like quite irrational, but when I get tired, the noises are harder to handle. I can sleep with white noise, but it's got to be like fan noise or rain noise. It can't be like people talking or anything. And it turns out it can't be snoring either. So I then either lay there angrily trying to go to sleep, or I get up and move to our spare bedroom, which then means that I have to pick up the stuff. So like I sleep with my hoodies because they feel nice. So I kind of cocoon myself. And I'll tell the people I still sleep with a teddy because it feels soft and I like it. And I am not even embarrassed about it. I take it on the plane as one of my carry-ons. When I go somewhere, I have to sleep with it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I have to pick all of that up and move that to the spare bedroom because otherwise I won't go to sleep there. And then because I've got up and I've moved, I then will pick up my phone and read again. And so then there's another hour or two of trying to get my brain to pass out again. So that's my sleep routine. Not necessarily open to feedback if anybody wants to get in touch with us, unless you are literally going to work with my routine instead of like, don't come at me and tell me to put my phone down. Don't come at me and tell me to just, start sleeping in the spare bedroom because that lounge is not the most comfortable and we really need to get a new one. So that's not going to improve my sleep. Like, unless you're going to work with the routine I already have and make it a bit better, don't come for me.
Yes. And please don't suggest melatonin either, please.
Yeah. Or Ceramind or literally anything else that you can take because it doesn't knock me out. It does not work. And I'm not going to start taking Valium or anything because it's not even anxiety or anything. It's literally just my brain thinks.
Yeah.
And thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks. And, I obviously can't take my Vyvanse at night because that keeps me, because it keeps me up.
Yeah,
it helps me focus and stay awake. So it makes my brain quiet and focused. But then I'm awake and functioning because it's amphetamines. So I would get up and I would do stuff instead of actually resting and going to sleep. So unless you've got something else that's not those things, like some sort of miracle secret drug, also don't share those with us.
It's interesting though, like you mentioned that you get angry when you're trying to sleep, and I totally get that. I used to get so angry when I couldn't get to sleep, sort of yelling out and punching my pillow and shit, and just having thoughts just stuck in my head that were on repeat and would not leave. And it used to make me furious. And it was especially when I knew that I had to do something the next day. That was always when I couldn't sleep, which is probably, there's got to be some sort of psychological thing about that.
So I don't know for you, but sorry to interrupt. For me, so that's definitely the thing. And it's partly because I'm thinking about that thing the next day, and that is kind of anxiety sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then part of it is I'm looking at how much time I have left to sleep. Like if I go to sleep right now, I will get 7 hours sleep. If I go to sleep right now, I'll get 6 hours and 54 minutes sleep. And so then I'm constantly engaging that part of my brain and having anxiety that I'm not going to get enough sleep for that thing. And the fact that that thing is normally non-negotiable. So I know that if I'm tired when I wake up, I can't give myself an extra 20 minutes. I can't give myself the extra hour I need. I have to get up, and then I'm stressed and anxious that I'm going to be tired for that thing the next day, that my brain is like, don't forget you got that thing the next day. You better go to sleep now. And it just becomes like a circle.
Real asshole move, brain. Real dick move.
But is that what it is for you?
Yeah, exactly that. It may not even be something that I'm anxious about necessarily. Yeah. It's just in the background. There is something happening tomorrow that is an event or whatever. Or I have or I have an interview to do for the show or whatever. And it's just in the back of my mind, running over and over. Alongside sometimes just I get parts of songs stuck in my head and they just keep repeating and repeating. So it's that plus the anxiety, and it's just kind of made me, I don't get angry anymore when I can't sleep. I kind of have gotten to the point where, but one thing that my psychologist said was to look at it in the sense of, if I am unable to get to sleep, it means that I'm not ready to go to sleep, and that's okay. I just continue doing what I need to do and I'll make up for it later. And it's not, obviously it's not ideal for someone who has got a really strict schedule. I don't, thankfully. But it means that I can, if I find myself unable to sleep, I'll just sit with it and be like, oh, okay, it's one of those nights, I'll just fucking deal, I guess.
Oh, no, that'd drive me insane.
Yeah.
And same thing, at the moment I have a very flexible schedule and things like that, but I don't know. I hadn't thought of it like that, and I guess because for me there's the constraint's the wrong word, but I can't think of anything. But there's someone next to me, so I can't just flick back my light on and read a like physical book or anything. And if I get up, the dog gets up and then he potentially makes noise. And if I move the bed, like, you know, Lucas will hear and stuff. So maybe that's part of why I get angry, because like, one, I haven't thought of it with that mentality, and two, I can't just do whatever.
Exactly, yeah. And you can't just lie there in bed not sleeping. That's boring as shit. Who would want
Which
to do
is
that?
probably why my phone is the go-to, because it's the thing that I can do to keep myself entertained and not absolutely cranky losing my mind while there's someone sleeping not so peacefully next to me kind of thing. That's interesting because it feels like I'm ready to go to sleep. And like, even if I push my bedtime backwards, so like the shower routine starts sometime between 9 and 10. Even when I push that back to shower routine starts between 11 and 12, I'll still spend that time laying down and reading. It's like my brain needs between at least an hour or two of laying sideways in the dark, doing something like reading, or occasionally I'll write on my phone, like write short stories or parts of my book. It's like it needs that sideways time, the dark, and the very specific word-based activity. And it's because it's clearly not just, oh, my body's not ready to go to sleep just yet.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I assumed that then if I pushed the routine and shit back, that would work.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't know. It's very weird and confusing. That's very intriguing.
But
I
I mean,
know.
still, regardless, like, even though I was told that if I am not ready to sleep, then I don't need to try to sleep. The fact of the matter is I still need to get, just like everyone, a certain amount of sleep that is healthy for me. And sometimes I don't get that.
Yeah.
Do you get enough sleep, Jacinta?
I really don't know. I think so. My sleep study was like a couple of years ago. So I don't know how things change over time and if it's still exactly accurate or anything. But essentially what it told me is I get a crap load of sleep, like a bucket load of sleep, because I sleep in a lot and because I have the fatigue and things like that. But I don't get quality sleep because my brain is functioning 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So then while it looks like I'm having 10 to 12 hours of sleep some days, you know, maybe more, maybe less, I'm not getting the same quality sleep that someone else is getting. So I think that's the thing that really stuffs me up, because it looks like I get plenty of sleep. I go to bed at about 10 o'clock. I go to sleep at probably anywhere between 12 and 1, and then I wake up at 9. That's 8 hours. That should be plenty. And then if I'm still tired and I don't have anything on, I'll snooze my alarm and I'll stay in until 10 or 11. That should be heaps. So I think it's the quality for me, and, you know, also probably any other factors. But
What about lately, Jacinta? Have you had enough sleep lately?
I was about to lead into this. I've had a funny week. So my lovely mum came in to help me declutter our house after we talked to Narelle. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. But I knew I needed help, and I do not have money or NDIS funding for Narelle just yet. So I brought in my mum, and we spent all of Monday cleaning, which was really, really awesome. And I got rid of a bunch of stuff. I gave it away. I binned the 20 million bits of rubbish that I walk past every day in my garage to my desk. But because I wasn't in my normal routine, and because it was a public holiday in Victoria and Lucas was home, I took my Vyvanse in the morning as I normally would. And then I had my morning coffee as I normally would. And then I lost track of my coffee intake. So Lucas has probably 3 or 4 coffees a day minimum on a good day. Sometimes that number will go up. And so, you know, when Lucas boiled the kettle, I'd be like, ooh, coffee, yum, I want that. And I would have a coffee with Lucas, and my mum would normally have a tea. And so that's when we were taking our breaks and things. And I wasn't in a tea mood, and we didn't have any juice, and I'm not just a drink a glass of milk kind of girl. And I was drinking plenty of water across the day, so that didn't feel like my treat break drink. So I had, I want to say it's probably 4 coffees. I'm not confident, but I'd say close to 4, which when I normally have 1, potentially even only half a coffee because I get distracted some days, it was a bit of a jump. I also haven't tested my Vyvanse on that level of caffeine before. So we're doing the things, we're working, it's all great. I stay up a little bit later when mum's here because she has a later bedtime. So, we stayed up and watched TV, and I probably started the shower routine at like midnight, which pretty late, 3 hours later, whatever. Hopped into bed. Lucas was snoring his beautiful little head off. Lucas has been sniffly over the last few days. Not COVID, just we think hay fever potentially.
Yeah.
Or that we cleaned the house and we moved a bunch of stuff that's probably dusty, blah, 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 hay fever, dust allergy, whatever. I try to roll him as I would normally try. Can't even get the boy to move. Can't get him to wake up. He's still breathing, so I leave him. He's fine. He's conscious. He's sleeping. No one fret. But I can't just move myself into the next door spare room as I normally would because mum's in there. So I wander my way downstairs and I'm like, fine, I'll sleep on the downstairs lounge. It's not ideal. And I'll wake up when Lucas gets up for work, which is like 7 o'clock, which is way earlier than I normally do, but whatever, that's fine. And then I can move into the bed. I get down there and I forget that I've been using the lounge as a sorting station and it is covered in stationery and bits and pieces. And so I lay down anyway because I'm like, fine, I can't move all of this because I'll make too much noise. I'll wake everyone up. We have a dog. Mum has 2 dogs. They would have heard. They would have all started barking. My dog loves playing with her dogs. So once he's awake, he starts playing and yelling. So that wouldn't have worked. So I was like, fine, I'll just push some of it down with my feet and sleep on it. For anyone else with sensory issues, I obviously couldn't do that. It was awful. I did not fall asleep. But I didn't feel necessarily tired either. I tried the reading thing, didn't work. And then I started to get cranky that wasn't working. And I'm nearly finished this book and I'm not ready for it to finish. So I stopped and I was like, all right, well, it's nearly daylight. Lucas will be up in an hour or two. I'll just quietly sort this stuff on the lounge. I hadn't brought my glasses downstairs with me. They were on my bedside table. And it didn't even occur to me that I could go upstairs and get them without waking Lucas, given that I wouldn't have clearly woken him because he didn't wake up. But I didn't want to disturb the dogs. And so I was like, okay, I can't do any cleaning that requires a lot of movement because I can't see long distances. I can't see more than a meter in front of my face without my glasses. I will run into stuff. I'm already clumsy at the best of times. So I was like, fine. And I sorted that stuff. And then, basically Lucas got up and he was like, how you doing? And I was like, I haven't been to sleep yet, but I'm fine. And I genuinely was. I didn't feel fatigued. I didn't feel tired. I didn't feel anything. I just felt fine. It's almost like the caffeine extended the Vyvanse and I was able to just continue to do things. I was just doing stuff. I was sorting stuff that I wouldn't have normally been able to do. And then, Lucas went to work because he made noise. I let all the doggies out and they came down and had a play. And because they were already awake, I went up and got my glasses. I let my mum go back to sleep and babysat her doggies and stuff. And I just ran all of Tuesday without a nap as well, doing the same thing. Just mum helped me do more cleaning and stuff. And there was literally no issue. Well, no issue that I can tell. Maybe something weird is happening. And then I slept same normal this morning and last night and woke up perfectly fine and not tired. Able to get up for the podcast recording and do stuff. And I've, got up and put on a load of washing and repotted a plant and all this stuff.
I think that you might have discovered your banal superpower. Ability to stay up without sleeping and feel totally fine. At least once.
Vyvanse and caffeine. I don't know if that's going to be the healthiest thing. And
no. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying.
I know there's a disclaimer at the end, but just to reiterate, this is not medical advice and this is probably not good for my body. And it was a complete accident. I wasn't on purposely let's see what will happen. This was a complete accident. I didn't do it on purpose. And had I felt like I needed to sleep, I would have probably tried harder. But to be fair, I gave myself 3 hours of trying to sleep next to Lucas, sleep downstairs, do stuff before I gave up and was just well, I'm clearly not tired.
Yeah.
That is the first time that I have definitely felt that saying of, well, I'm clearly not tired to go to sleep yet. Just unfortunately, that meant I'm not tired to go to sleep yet for 2 days.
Yes.
Which,
yeah.
But it was interesting and it was fun. And like, I think the other thing, this is a bit off topic, but I think the other thing that makes sleep hard for me is that doing things at night is so much easier.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's not even necessarily that my brain works better at night or anything. Like, I do think I am a night owl, but also like, you know, I've done writing retreats where I've been able to do my writing from 9 to 6 with regular breaks and stuff like that. Like, I know I can do that pattern and have a regular sleep thing. I think it's that, and this is backed up by the writing retreat. I think it's like a demand avoidance thing.
Okay.
So like, anyone could call me during the day and interrupt what I'm doing. Anyone can email me during the day and I need to then stop what I'm doing and action that email. Like, I feel like it's harder to get into the mindset of doing something that I need to soak into because I know I can be pulled out of it at any time. Because even if I'm like doing something, I'll still answer my phone for like my mum or my sisters or Lucas or something. I won't answer your phone call if you're a random number in the middle of the day. So if you've tried to call me, sorry. But, you know, and I feel like during the day, anyone can get me on email, and we get a lot of emails, and we're really grateful for them through the podcast. I just mean me personally get a lot of emails about, you know, life admin and stuff like that I have to deal with. Whereas at night, I can smash through all of those emails and know that I'm not going to get a reply immediately that means I have to go back to it.
Yeah.
Or it means that I can sit down with my novel and soak into the world and work on it for a bunch of hours without someone ringing the doorbell or calling me or having to do something for the house and things like that. So it just feels more accessible at nighttime because everybody, like, there's no demands because everybody else is asleep. There's no interruptions because everybody else is asleep. And I think that's why I get angry when I can't sleep. It's not necessarily that I can't sleep, I guess. It's that I'm not sleeping when I'm meant to be, but then I also feel like I can't get up and do something else practical because then I'm just delaying sleep for longer.
Yeah.
But like, if we lived in a world where I could wake up at 11, do housework during the day, have a siesta or push through, and then like not go to sleep until like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. or something, I reckon I'd genuinely be so much better. It's just that means, you know, I can't fit into standard typical employment that wants you to work from 9 to 5. If I'm sleeping in the afternoon, it means that I don't get that afternoon time with Lucas when he gets home, when we normally walk the dog and stuff like that. Like, I can see why that's not the routine. But like, I don't know, doing stuff at night is just so much easier. Also, doing stuff in the dark helps me focus. And I think it's because out of sight, out of mind, the lack of object permanence and things like that, and maybe paired with my poor eyesight, is like I'll forget anything's beyond my laptop screen.
Mm-hmm.
So then I won't be like, damn, I need to, like, I won't see a pile of washing and be like, oh, damn, I have to do that or something, or just notice things in my environment that distract me. I just forget that everything else exists and do it. So that's probably also part of why I have bad sleep is every once in a while when I need to get something done that's a big project or I have a deadline or something, I will do it at night. And then that then stuffs around my sleep brain patterns again.
Yeah, I was the same when I was at uni. I would do all of my assignments at nighttime because I mean, I don't know whether it was true or not that I worked better at night, but that's just what I told myself so that I could do shit during the day. On a slightly different note, I'm wondering if you've had experience like I have with medications for our particular spicy things we've got going on in our brain doing the opposite, putting us to sleep, maybe a little bit too much to sleep. So, for example, I used to be on Seroquel, and I was only on a very small dose, and it was still enough to completely knock me out within moments. And there's a reason why you're not meant to drink and take Seroquel at the same time. So I made sure that if I was drinking, I just wouldn't take the Seroquel. When I did, I'd get knocked out and have a completely just dead to the world sleep and then wake up the next day at around 11 o'clock sometimes, maybe sometimes earlier, but then I would be a zombie. I would still feel as though I was made out of Play-Doh for the rest of the day, and it was disgusting. So I didn't feel as though I was getting a good quality sleep. Did that ever happen with you, Jacinta, with any of your medications?
No. I've been pretty lucky that my anti-anxiety, I think it is, not antidepressant, but my fluoxetine has always worked for me. So I didn't need to do a bunch of trial and error with anything else, and that doesn't impact my sleep. And the only other medications really that I've been on is the contraceptive pill, which I don't believe has ever impacted my sleep. And then, my Vyvanse now. So no, I haven't ever been prescribed anything to try and get me to sleep beyond, people suggesting melatonin and stuff like that, which I tried and it didn't work, as well as over-the-counter stuff that I tried and didn't work. But I haven't had anything that knocks me out. I'd be interested to see what happens with my brain. Like, I don't want to be permanently taking something to go to sleep because I'm relatively fine with how everything functions. But I'd be interested to see how my overactive brain goes with something like that. Like, if it would zonk it out or if it would fight back. But no, medication is not really a factor in my sleep or not sleep.
I got to hasten to add as well, when I mentioned the Seroquel. Seroquel isn't a sleeping pill, everyone. Don't use it as a sleeping pill. Yeah.
On that note, let's take a quick break. And on the other side, I have more questions for you, Lachlan.
Oh boy, here we go.
I hope that was a lovely break for you. But Lachlan, I want to know, so you've had medications change your sleeping patterns. Have you done any therapy or like CBT or acceptance therapy or anything around your sleep routines?
Very, very minimal. I have been told some techniques. Aside from what I mentioned before about, recognizing that I don't necessarily need to sleep at this moment in time. And because, I'm in a position where I have the I guess, quote unquote, luxury to do that.
Yeah.
But there is one thing that I've tried. I'm not very good at it because my mind's a little bit noisy. And that is the progressive muscle scan. I think it's called progressive body scan.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, so basically it's just this awareness exercise, like a mindfulness exercise where you start at the top of your head, work your way down to your feet, and basically notice which parts of your body are tensing or are tense, and essentially just kind of like let the tension out if you can. And it's very hard for me because I don't know quite how to relieve tension in my body. It's like I went to just a side anecdote. I went to I go to an exercise physiologist, and they keep telling me just relax your shoulders a bit more, relax your arms a bit more, and I don't know how to do that because I feel as though I've been tensing myself for half of my life, if not more, and it's just become second nature to me. So anyway, the progressive muscle scan is not easy for me to do, but it is philosophically, it's a very easy technique for a person to do. And basically, it's not only is it the relaxing of the muscles, but it's the slow process of it, the fact that it's all very introspective and in the moment and like boring, I suppose. It's a boring activity to do that's meant to encourage relaxing into sleep. There's also breathing exercises, breathing in through your nose for 3 seconds, out through your mouth for 2 seconds. So you're actually taking in more oxygen than you're expelling. And it's not dangerous either. It's a thing that they do in the army, apparently.
Oh,
yeah.
Army boy.
Apparently, because of the nature of lithium, it's meant to regulate sleep a bit better. I think that's a mixed bag. Well, I know, but it's a mixed bag. There has been a study done, and we'll put this link in the show notes if you are so inclined to have a look. But a paper by Shinohara, Saunders, Geddes, and Cipriani suggests that through a study of the effects of lithium on sleep, that it's very much a mixed bag. Like some people will It can be prescribed specifically to help with regulating sleep patterns, because when you have a manic episode, obviously you are so elevated that any sort of relaxation is impossible. So that's why the lithium is used. But then on the other hand, it can not do that. It can keep you up. And because it's regulatory, because of the nature of bipolar disorder, it kind of like can go either way. For me, it really, I think it does go both ways. I will sleep excessively or I will not sleep enough. There is no, there can be some in between, but
not
always.
often and not regularly enough that it is a positive
Correct.
sleep. Yeah, fair enough. Interesting. I've had, all of the mindfulness things, the tensing stuff that you were suggested to me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's why I hold such a grudge against mindfulness, and meditation specifically. Maybe that's the biggest part of meditation, essentially, because it's the thing that like Lucas always, like, he understands it now, I think, with the phone, but he'd always be like, put your phone down, stop reading, meditate. And so then I would be laying there and I'd be bored and I'd be angry. And the only time that I do well at meditation is, as we discussed in previous episodes, it's when either I can hear something or I'm doing guided meditation, like with Headspace app, or I'm like, fiddling with a little squishy doodad or whatever. And you can't do that in bed either. And so then I get angry that I can't do the meditation, that it keeps being suggested to me, that it doesn't work for me.
Which defeats the purpose of meditation.
Yeah. And so I think, maybe that's a big part of why I hold a grudge. I've also been told regularly, the other suggestion that I've had every other time that I've gone is exercise before bed and tire myself out, which doesn't work, because the problem isn't that my body's not tired, it's that my brain is still going.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work. Or have sex, which I completely understand the science of where they're coming from. But if you're also a neurodivergent person with sensory sensitivities, you'll completely understand why that is not a viable option, because sex is obviously very stimulating. And so I can either get overstimulated and it stresses me out and then that doesn't help me sleep, or I get this big old dopamine rush and it's essentially like I've just taken a Vyvanse and then I'm like, okay, I have to get up and do things now. Like I am awake and up. And so that has the opposite effect for me, where I'm just like, oh, it'll flood your brain with the nice things and then you can lay down and you'll be calm and relaxed and stuff. And I'm like, oh no, I'm now powered up and ready to go. Yeah. So those are the, suggestions, alternatives that have been suggested. I don't have anything that has worked out of any of that. If anyone else has, as always, reach out and let us know what you guys do, because I'd be interested if any of those work for you guys, or if anyone has a similar situation. We haven't talked saucy things on the podcast much yet, but like we'd like to eventually, because, it is obviously a really big part of being neurodivergent in a relationship. It can be. And it's definitely something that, is a big part of my relationship. So if you want to come on and share your stories, we would love to. If there's any sex therapists, especially neurodivergent ones or ones that deal with mental health as well, hit us up, because I want to know what's up.
Yeah.
Even if my family listens to this podcast.
Oh, they can skip forward, whatever.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Another thing that I haven't done, but is apparently useful for really, I guess, advanced cases of having a sleep disorder, is bright light therapy. And I didn't know what this was until I did a bit of a Google of it. And it was mentioned in the paper that I just mentioned. And basically, it's just looking at a bright light for a while. That bright light can be in a box or it can be the sun. And you look at that, immerse yourself in that, and it basically reverses the polarity of your brain so that the hyposomnia that you might normally have during the day gets switched so that it happens at nighttime, to match the sort of natural circadian rhythms of the
Wait, so when do you stare at the bright light? During the day or before you go to sleep?
I don't think it's like you stare at it every day in preparation.
It's like an ongoing treatment.
It's a treatment, yeah.
Ah, intriguing. Like, it makes sense, but I thought you meant just before bed, and I was like, that sounds like the opposite of
everyone tells us. Exactly, yeah.
Intriguing. I am realizing, so there is one other thing that I think potentially helped, and that was in a previous house, we had strip lighting under the mirrors and counters. Like we had a wall length mirror that had strip lighting underneath it, and that was our bathroom cabinet as well. So it had the space, and then it had a floating, I don't know what they're called. Do you know the floating cupboard, your under sink floating cupboard situation?
I don't,
and
but
they
sure.
had they had strip lighting under that. Well, it's your bathroom cabinet. It just doesn't reach the ground. It sticks to the wall. And showering in that. So not putting the big light on. And normally I am a big light fan. Like I am one of the few neurodivergents that I know that I'm like pro big light. I hate the lamps. And I think a big part of it is my nighttime vision has always been bad, even before I needed glasses. And now I need glasses. So I think it's just literally I can't see as good. I need the big light. But showering in that, because like, you know, you don't really need to see what you're doing for showering, I guess, like unless you're like shaving or something important, in which case turn your light on. We would use the strip lighting, and I think showering in the strip lighting and then going into the darker bedroom with, you know, just lamps and stuff was an easy way to transition between them, because now we have just the normal big light in our bathroom here. And, you know, long term, we might add a dimmer or strip lighting or something, but we haven't yet. And then I'll turn on the big light in the bedroom because I was already just in a big light room. So I'm like, okay, well, I need the big light still kind of thing. I don't really like going from big light to small light that quickly, but maybe we'll do that. Maybe I'll get one of them galaxy lamp things that shoots like the stars and stuff and start having just the sickest showers.
Oh, man.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to give this a try and report back. Maybe we do a sleep episode either in another 6 months, or we'll get a guest on and talk about sleep. But like, you guys will be hearing more about this because I'm now going to do my own personal trial. Oh my God, TBA.
I'm excited for you.
Oh, mate.
God, I want one of them now. Shit. One of my favorite things to do when I was younger, we used to have one of those shower radios that you just hook over the tap in the shower. I had that, and I'd turn the lights off and have a shower with that playing, and it was atmospheric. Let me tell you.
Oh, very nice. All right, we're gonna do that. Maybe, you know, book it in 6 months' time. I'm gonna get Lachlan also whatever. Or maybe I'll get you a different one. Okay, we're each gonna get some sort of shower lamp party situation, and let's see, because you shower at night before bed, yeah?
Sometimes. I'm usually a morning shower like a freak.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Well, that's not going to help our trial.
No, I'll switch it. I'll do some bright light therapy, reverse the polarity, start showering at nighttime.
Please Google it before you do it, though. And again, this is not medical advice. Everyone, please don't
go and look at the sun. Don't do that. It's
correct. And maybe, like, if you don't feel comfortable showering in the dark, don't do that, because if you fall over, I don't want to be sued. But this has been an excellent sleep thing. Yeah. My final question for you is, so we tried to do a bit of research before this episode, and there's a reason it's very, very personal based, because I couldn't find much at all. So I was searching specifically, you know, neurodivergence, ADHD, autism, sleep. Those were my keywords, and you were going to take yours.
Yep.
And almost everything I found, I'm not surprised, I'm just angry. Almost everything I found was children, sleep and autism, children, ADHD and autism. And it was all focused on, one, parents getting their neurodivergent kids to sleep, or two, studies that they've done on kids who are neurodivergent kids, and seeing their sleep quality. Even when I chucked in adult, it was almost non-existent resources for adults who are trying to, you know, survive in a full-time work 9-to-5 employment kind of situation. So there's a real gap in knowledge there that if anyone has any resources that we can chuck in the show notes, let me know around neurodivergence, ADHD, autism, all of that stuff, anything really. But what, did you find anything?
Look, there were some articles that I found, like some scholarly articles I found about how bipolar disorder and sleep kind of is in this constant feedback loop Like they both affect each other. Same with depression. Like if you're depressed, you're going to have poor sleep, and you're going to have poor sleep if you're depressed. To be quite candid, I probably haven't done as much research as I could on this area. However, the most, I guess, prominent resource that exists in this country, at least, is Beyond Blue. And I don't have a problem with Beyond Blue. Beyond Blue is a ultimately good resource. However, their article on sleep hygiene and mental health is lacking. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I will just tell you some of the things that it says. Basically, it starts out with explaining why can't I sleep? And it goes through, the usual things, anxiety, lack of exercise, all that kind of stuff. So it's very much an entry-level thing. And then it talks about the benefits of sleep, signs of poor sleep, all that kind of stuff. And then it talks about how we can actually manage poor sleep. And I mean, it's not like it's some sort of complicated science. Like it is. I don't want to discredit the fact that there are people working in this particular field and doing hard work on it. But the tips that it gives are very straightforward. Like, are you not sleeping? Then exercise more, or don't nap as often, or try not to stress so much. And it's like, yeah, okay, fine.
Thanks. and I'm sure that works for a perfectly mentally healthy neurotypical person.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
For sure, but
I'm
this
sure
is Beyond
there's someone
Blue.
out there. Well, that's it. Like, I'm sure there's someone out there that works for, but like, it's not us.
Yeah.
It's not our community. I think that's, what made me frustrated. And I'm interested, maybe we'll do a bigger episode on this. I'm interested that it sounds to me like you found more stuff related to probably like an adult perspective
Then you,
and
absolutely,
and whether mental health and things like bipolar are treated differently, because like I still think it's quite common that autism and ADHD are seen as like kid-based things, whereas like I don't know how common it is for bipolar to be identified in children, adolescents, teenagers, and things like that. And so whether there's a gap in research in terms of there's not enough research on my side for adults with autism and ADHD and things like that, and there's not much resources and consideration of, you don't grow out of it. And for some of us, when you leave the structure of school, it's really, really hard. Whether there's a gap in research around, kids and bipolar and things like that, because it's not something that's been looked into. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe food for thought for a later episode, but that's interesting.
I want to also say that I can empathize with people who are trying their hardest to give advice on this particular topic with
Absolutely.
with this, like, I get it, because you're really just trying to give the information that is so obviously in society, in your face.
You're right. It comes from a place of, wanting to help and things like that. And I know I sounded maybe a bit harsh at the start of this episode in saying I don't want your opinions and your suggestions unless it's something that is not common and is completely genuinely out of the blue. And that's not because I don't want the help, and it's not that I don't appreciate you guys getting in touch, because I absolutely do. Please message me about all the things. It's that I think that we don't have the knowledge there. So the things that we're suggesting, the things that, you found online, the things that we get suggested around sleep hygiene, it is so neurotypical focused. It is so one brain focused that we don't even have the expertise, the research, the knowledge, the information to give effective advice on how to improve the sleep quality of neurodivergent people, of mentally struggling people, because we just don't know.
Yeah,
and
we're not flipping anyone the bird for trying to help.
It's simply that those strategies aren't designed for our brains. They haven't been done on our brains. And so suggesting them constantly as the only go-tos, it's just ridiculous, because they don't work, and we know they don't work. And so, as much as there is a lot of well-meaning stuff out there, and I totally get it. And if you're someone trying to help someone else in your life who is struggling with their sleep, whether it's, a specific condition or if it's just generally kind of similar to me and Lachlan, where you view it as we have poor sleep hygiene or something like that, I'd urge you to be there for that person and support them, but also know that they've probably had those things suggested to them before. And if they're not doing them, it's because they don't work. They genuinely did try and they don't work. So if you're just going to a listicle like that Beyond Blue one, they've probably read it. So maybe, as much as we empathize with people who are just trying to help, maybe empathize with they've tried the things that they've been told to help and they can't do it. And they are now just getting the best quality sleep that they can with the tools that they have. Because I know that's definitely true for me. Like, I know that practically speaking, reading until I pass out, probably not the best, especially not on my phone. But also, that's the only way I get to sleep. And getting any sleep is better than getting no sleep or getting rage-filled sleep because I've tried to meditate for 5 hours and it hasn't worked.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I landed on a bit of an aggressive note there. But
No, that wasn't it. I think that was a really sensitive note because ultimately we're saying to people that who are wanting to try to help, the best way to help sometimes is not necessarily to give out advice, it's to listen. Just take some responsibility off your shoulders. You don't have to be the therapist. Just listen.
Absolutely. And for the people who are struggling, you're doing your absolute best. Like, don't feel guilty that you don't sleep the way that other people do. In the same way that, we're trying to break down ableism and stigma and misconceptions and stereotypes around, big publicly facing things, I know that there is a lot of guilt potentially around not getting enough sleep and not sleeping how other people do and not having a sleep hygiene routine that everyone else seems to have that works for them. Just do what you can, because at the end of the day, I go back to, this is becoming a motto in our house. It used to be for food and now it's just everything. A little bit of something is better than none of something. A crappier version of something is better than none of something. So if you're eating the food that has historically been labeled junk for you instead of eating nothing, that's great. If you're playing on your phone until you pass out, that's fine. If you're having one toothbrushing a day rather than none, that's fine. Well, thank you guys for staying with us for a pretty long episode, actually. Sorry for the ADHDers and the others who maybe had to blip out for a bit and got bored with us. We're trying to make our episodes shorter, so maybe let us know if you prefer longer episodes on one topic where we talk about everything, or if potentially this episode would have worked better for you if we spoke about how we handle our sleep and then we talked about medication and sleep and broke them each topic down into mini bite-sized episodes. But thank you guys for hanging around. Yeah. If you want to get in touch with us and give feedback, if you just like us, any of that, the best way to get onto us is we have our Facebook group. The link will be in the show notes. It's really lovely. Everyone's super supportive. I've been pretty bad with it of late, I'll be honest, in terms of posting because I've been pretty sick, in all honesty, but I promise we're there. And if you guys post in there, we'll answer. It's just I'm not getting the posts up quite as often. But please come and join us. It is a good place. Everyone's wonderful. There's no judgment, all support. That's the easiest way to get onto us. Otherwise, we're on Instagram as well. Same deal as the Facebook group. Haven't been as busy on there, but I got Lachlan filming some more content soon. So we know you guys love the funny Lachlan reels and you'll have more of them soon. But in the meantime, sleep well, I guess.
Good night, sweet prince.
Differently Brained shares the opinions of individuals and does not consider your personal circumstances. Differently Brained exists purely for information purposes and should not be relied on as health or medical advice. Because no brain is the same, please consult your healthcare professional for your personal medical needs.